Good evening. We're learning the daily Tanya. We're learning for Refuah Shalema to our friend Daniel Ben Simcha and Leilu Nishmas Charni Abbat Lipman and Gabriel Yaakov Ben Hirsch. So the Tanya of today can be found in the Chayenu on page 90. Page 87. Page 85. Page 85. So in today's lesson, we're still holding in Epistle 27. So today's lesson, since faith, love, and awe of God are spiritual characteristics, it follows that as long as the tzaddik lives within a body, he can only channel these to his students to the degree the body allows. Thereafter, though he is not limited by the body, he can channel these to an even greater degree. So, in simple words, when the tzaddik is alive, we learned that the main life of a tzaddik are spiritual lives. So what does it mean? Love of God, fear of God, faith in God. So he transmits these attributes to his followers, his disciples. Now what happened when he passes away, he continues to do it, but not limited to the body. So while the tzaddik was alive on earth, these three attributes were contained in their vessels and garments. They're limited, contained in vessels, meaning that they are in confines. In physical place, it's being the aspect of the nefesh which is bound to his body. During his lifetime, all his disciples all receive only a reflection of these attributes, an array from them. So again, we see that what his disciples receive is just a ray from what the tzaddik really has to give. That radiates beyond this vessel. What does it mean, the vessel? When you say vessel, we are referencing to the tzaddik's body that radiates beyond this vessel by means of his holy utterances and thoughts. So the tzaddik utterances and thoughts are able to reveal no more than a minor ray of his attributes. So therefore they said, that is why the sages of blessed memory said that one cannot fathom the depth of his master's teaching until the passage of 40 years. It needs to be 40 years old to completely understand his teacher. But after the tzaddik passing, since the nefesh which remains in the grave is separated from the ruach, why there are 5 levels to the neshama, so it says that the nefesh is now separated from the ruach, which comprises these 3 attributes, and after his passing is in the Garden of Eden. Whoever is close to the tzaddik can receive a part of his ruach which is in Gan Eden, an actual part of the very essence of these attributes, as opposed to a mere reflection of them. So during his lifetime there's only reflection from the tzaddik array, but after his passing, now we're capable of receiving also ruach. Ruach means his portion in Gan Eden, somewhat to the exposure directly from Gan Eden. Whoever is close to him can receive part of his ruach, which is in the Garden of Eden, an actual part of the very essence of these attributes, as opposed to mere reflection of them. Why? Because the ruach of the tzaddik is now not within a vessel, nor on the plane of physical space, but in the Garden of Eden, which, as will now be explained, is to be found within this world as well. So it says about Rabbi Zichron Livracha, the sages of blessed memory, said of our father Yaakov, peace be to him, that the Garden of Eden entered with him when he came to be blessed by his father Isaac. Famous statement that Isaac says, Re'eh re'ach b'ni, he is the smell of my son, Kireach Gan Eden asher bircha havayis. So he says the smell of when Yaakov entered the house of Esau, the Garden of Eden envelops every individual. And in this atmosphere are recorded all his good thoughts and utterances of Torah and divine worship. So it says, and likewise, to the contrary, heaven forfend, negative thoughts and utterances are recorded in the atmosphere from Gehenna, which envelops every individual when he engages in them. So to summarize, after the tzaddik's passing, his power and his faith, his awe and his love are not limited by his bodily vessel and by the physical world in general, but are in the Garden of Eden, which is to be found in this world as well. Hilkach. It is therefore very easy for his disciples to receive their part of the essential aspect of their master's ruach, his faith, his awe, and his love with which he served God. And not merely a glimmer thereof which radiates beyond the vessel, and which reached them through his thoughts and words when the tzaddik was still alive. For the essential aspect of his ruach is essential faith, awe, and love that relate to himself and not to his disciples, is raised elevation beyond elevation. To become absorbed in his neshama, which in the higher Garden of Eden, in the supreme worlds. V'noida, shekol davar shebekdusha eno nekar legamre mikol v'chol mekom madrigos harishona gam lachar shenisa l'mal. It is known that no holy entity is ever totally and utterly uprooted from its original place and level, even after it has reached the highest point. Rather, some trace of it always remains in its original lowly location. Moreover, as noted above, the lower Garden of Eden is to be found even in the lowly world of action, the world of Asiya. It is this original aspect deriving from the Ruach of the Tzaddik remaining below in the lower Garden of Eden, in its original place and level. Yamispashetes betalmido, which extend itself among his disciples. For this aspect has detached itself from the essential aspect of the Ruach of the Tzaddik. Its entire purpose is to be vested within his disciples. Kol echad, each one according to the level of his bond and closeness to the Tzaddik. Kol echad kefi b'chinas kashrusay v'kirvosay elo v'chai v'moisav v'rab. each one according to the level of his bond and closeness to the tzaddik during his lifetime, and after his passing out of an abounding love. For anything spiritual is elicited only by means of an abounding love. Again, anything spiritual is elicited only by means of an abounding love. And when this degree of love is present, the three attributes of faith, fear, and love are then drawn down. It is stated in the sacred Zohar that the spirit ruach of the inner heart's desire elicits a spirit from above. So too, the disciple's heartfelt love for his master draws down these three attributes. But only if he will prepare himself toward his God with a great preparation and intense effort. So that he will receive these attributes in the way that his master taught him. To paraphrase the words of our sages of blessed memory, if you have labored and claim to have found, believe it. So the takeaway from today's Tanya: when you have a positive thought of divine service, it has an immediate cause. The atmosphere of Eden becomes embedded in the atmosphere that envelops you. Bruchim to you.